unblindfold as you venture into the classroom.
Oh, doesn't this look familiar, Wilbin?
It does.
I'm gonna kind of sit towards the back of the class, right behind Kafik.
Good morning, Guyvan.
Oh, sure. Good morning. And he's gathering up books and parchment and things that were left behind in the office at the desk. Yes, everyone please take your seats. He steps up to the podium. And he places both hands on the podium and he looks out at the now gathered audience. Now, before we begin, does anyone have any questions? No one?
I do not.
Fantastic. He looks down at the podium and he starts flipping through the pages of this book. Forgive me, I have not been in a position to teach students in many years. I delegated that responsibility to my last apprentice, which I hope I can do again.
Tyrael raises her hand at that.
He jabs his index finger down into a page and he looks up and he opens his mouth to speak, but then he sees a hand in the audience and he looks over. Yes, your name and your question.
My name is Tyrael, and my question is, if you don't mind asking, who was your last apprentice and what were they like?
Perhaps we will get into it at a later time. He is no longer with us.
So you're saying that he died?
A more appropriate response is that he has disappeared.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. I welcome questions. The study of the arcane is to question everything. Those who discovered the paths that lead to the abilities that we call arcana, they questioned the very nature of their own being. It is actually believed that the Solarians, in their desperation to survive in the unreasonable, cold, desolate hills of the Kingdom of Solaria, it is believed that they discovered the ability to manipulate fire to keep themselves alive. And ever since, Alcatora has been a realm forever changed. And it is our duty, as students of the arcane, to not only wield magic with responsibility, but with an understanding of the history, of the effect that one spell can have on an entire world. Not just for the people around you, but also be warned. The body is a frail glass instrument in wielding some of the most dangerous magics of all time. You will find yourself changed should you choose to pursue this path. Hopefully for the better if you heed any wisdom here. But that is a journey you will go on. regardless of any mentorship I should seek to give you. You will see for yourself soon enough. Magic is an agreement we have with the realm around us. We understand it to be calling upon some of the most ancient and fundamental parts of the realm. And as such, scholars have classified magic into categories known as forms and techniques. To cast a spell, you must simply speak the incantation. Observe. He turns, looks over his own shoulder, and he raises his hand at the chalkboard at the back of the room. Rigodarum. And as he speaks these words, he produces from his hand a sort of like lines of wisping light that go over and wrap around the chalkboard and levitate it off the ground and float it over towards here, where you guys can have a better view of the words on the chalkboard. And you would see listed in order from left to right the words Intelligo, Muto, Perdo, Rigo, Animalis, Aurum, Aquam, Corpus, Urbum, Ignum, Imaginum, Mentum, and Terram. A form combined with a technique creates, it combines intention with element, and the combination of intention and element is the creation of a spell. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
What exactly do all of these words stand for?
Well, the techniques are how we manipulate the elements, or the way we choose to interact with them. He steps down, and he pulls out a little, like, pointing stick, and he points to the words listed on the left. Intelligo is to perceive, Mucho is to transform, Perdo is to destroy, and Rigo, as I just used on the chalkboard, is to control. Then we have the forms. He steps over, points at the forms now. Animalis, which is the form referring to natural living things that are not plants or humans. Aurum, which affects lightning, wind, gaseous substances. Aquam, used for any liquid, but is found not to have any effect on blood, which is something I have actually studied profusely in the Wild Stretch, the effects of blood magic and how that works. Then we have Corpus, which applies to mortal body. Urbum, referring to plants and agriculture. Ignum, referring to light and heat. Imaginum, which is a widely disputed form. They say it deals with sensory stimuli, so images, sounds, and sensory. Mentum, which deals with the mind, one of the most dangerous forms to manipulate. It deals with emotions, memories, and thoughts. And, as I said, in the one stretch, the spirit speakers seem to use it to confer with the divination, if you believe in such things. And lastly, Terram, which is involved with minerals and worldly substances. metal, wood, rock.
I see. Thank you.
As an archmage, I've dedicated my life to the study of each and every one of these forms and techniques and can manipulate them flawlessly. This is a feat you'll find not many in the realm can claim. But this is because Alcatora is a place of taboos and secrets. There are many who believe that power is something that should be smothered out. A fire that burns to harm more than it burns to warm you from the cold. If you prove worthy of my teaching, I believe each and every one of you could one day become an archmage, just like myself. Would anybody like to do anything?
I have a question.
Guyvin gestures for you to speak.
How does
Or-
one go about? Sorry.
I was just gonna ask. I wasn't sure. Was that a question for Guyvin or a question for me?
Oh, it was for God. I'm trying to figure out how to word it.
Okay, go for it.
I was gonna ask. How does one go about trying to, I guess, start to learn the techniques and manipulate Arcana in the way that they want to? What are the basic steps?
The scholars in Scrollhaven, the the quill pushers, as you might call them, in the Terahelian Empire, would have you believe that the best way to learn magic is to study it profusely. But we are not in the Terahelian Empire, and I have erected this college because I believe that the arcane is being bastardized. The only true way, the only true basic steps you can take towards mastery over the arcane is to practice yourself. Take from this class the fundamental understanding of the magic you wish to cast, and he leans over and he taps on the chalkboard where the words sort of like they glow a little brighter as he touches the chalkboard. Use what I've told you to your advantage and try magic is something that is unique to the individual, and it is not my place to tell you how to control the magic inside you. It is my place to give you the tools to try, and it is your job as an active student to discover the pathway to your own success. Would anybody else like to do anything?
Wait, sorry, I have another question.
Go for it.
Just for an example, if I wanted to go about learning how to manipulate fire, let's say that I wanted to make a fireball, would I just have to use the technique Rego and then the form of Ignum? Use them as incantations?
Well, that would depend on the source of your fire. For example, if you were met with a full adult dragon that was breathing fire from its maw, you could use Rico Ignum to take the abundance of fire from its mouth and mold that into a fireball. But if you sought to create a fireball from a mere candle, you would first have to use Muto Ignum to transform the flame of the candle into a ginormous source of potential fire. Which both are equally plausible, but you see how each has its own dangers, and you should not try to transform a candle's fire into a large one unless you have the means to control it.
Hmm.
Does that answer your
Tyrael-
question?
For the most part, yes. But, sorry, I just have one more. Is it not possible to create a flame from nothing or control a flame from nothing? There must always be I guess, like for instance, there must always be a candle. Just for an
This
example.
is one of the fundamental questions of our study. None have ever been able to create something from nothing. And religious scholars would have you believe this is because creation is reserved for the god of creation himself, Donos. It is believed that he created the lands we roam, and that with his passing, creation went with him. And all that we are left to do is play with the sand in his box. But I don't believe anything is so black and white, set in stone. Perhaps there are secrets to the arcane we have yet to discover.
Tyrael raises her hand.
Yes.
Is it possible to use two techniques or two forms at the same time?
This has been seen. If, for example, you sought to transform, take Kaji's hypothetical, for example. If you had a candle and you sought to transform that candle from a flame into a bead of water to drink from, you would need to have mastery over both the form Ignum and the form Aquam. So in that sense, yes, it has been seen before.
But beyond that, is there any other usage that you can do for both? For instance, if could you control two elements at once? Could you control both water and fire?
Oh. Such a thing is theoretically possible, but to attempt to cast two spells at the same time could mean quite literally tearing your own body in half. It is not something I would recommend trying at your skill level. I certainly would think before trying it myself. Does anybody else want to do anything?
I'm just kind of listening right now.
Okay, everybody blindfold. All right, I'm blindfold.
Josh, you're still blindfolded.
Did he say unblindfold?
Unblindfold, yes.
When the fuck did that happen?
Guyvin steps down from the podium. He picks up the book and he clasps it shut with one hand, and he basically dangles it from his belt. He ties it around his waist. All right, I'd say that's quite enough for today. That's as much progress as you're going to make. He steps down. As I said, the best route to understanding your own abilities is to put them to use. There is much to do in the city. And I believe it is in your best interest to head out on your own and see the city for yourself and look for a place, as I did when I left the island. Look for a place to put your skills to use. Find a cause and let your mind and body act as one, and you will see the results in time. But my responsibilities as Archmage, the responsibilities I took on in order to erect this school, call me elsewhere. I will remain momentarily because I believe there are some among you who wanted to have a private conversation with me, so those of you who do may come up. He sits down at the desk.
As I kind of approach the top, I'm pulling that little piece of parchment from the night before out of my little pocket and handing it to him.
Yes. I believe that is in your inventory.
Oh, I did not know that. Ivan, Crumb asked me to hand this to you.
Oh, from here. My errand boy has you doing errands,
Oh, he helped me with a favor, so I figured I would also return the favor.
Gavin puts on, he reaches into his robes, he puts on little spectacles, and he says, "Oh, so let me see here. Make an insight roll first.
Um, 15.
15. Guyvin's expression is completely blank as he stares at this piece of parchment, which is a little bit odd for him. Just in seeing him as your teacher today, he is known to be quite an expressive old man. But he is definitely staring for far longer than you would need to read a letter of this little substance. It is almost as if what he's processing is not the words themselves, but his own feelings about the words. So he's just staring blankly at this parchment for a while. Do you speak up, or do you just let him think on it?
I'm just letting him think on it.
Okay. He thinks on it for quite a while, and then he lowers the parchment. Thank you for bringing this to me. I will take it into consideration.
That is good. But
He tucks it into his robe.
that aside, we asked to meet with you about a different reason. More specifically, us being here.
Okay.
Is there any possible research that you may be able to point us towards to tell us how we're here and maybe why we came here in the first place?
Huh. Guy then, you see he looks around for a second. And then his eyes fall underneath the desk. he looks at something underneath the desk, and then he reaches over and he opens a drawer, and he pulls something out. He pulls this out of the desk, and then he scoots back his chair, and he reaches under the desk itself, and drags something drags along the cobblestone floor, and then he hoists it up with a little bit of difficulty, you notice, onto the desk where it makes a slam. God. I take it you recognize these things.
Perfectly.
Chest.
It's the exact same.
How do you
Is
have
this-
it?
Is what you got when you left Boggs Island?
He nods. Specifically what my previous apprentice used to help us get off the island. Well,
Hmm.
he says that, but he hesitates. Well, actually, when Bog was slain, the curse trapping everyone on the island was broken. I must admit that my previous apprentice sometimes eluded me. He never quite explained to me what he used the power to do. He had a personal project, one that he kept secret from even me. And now, I suppose I'm only left wondering what it was he was truly after. Perhaps your friend can provide us some insight. And Guyvin looks over at Wilpin.
You mentioned he left. There was a notebook of some kind.
There was his belongings, but trust me, I have scoured his notes and his documents. I have not found anything out of place. And I feel it would be unwise to provide you with his personal learnings and thoughts. I don't think he would want you to have them.
Even though we are the same.
Guyvin opens the drawer and he puts the key back and he slides the chest back underneath. It's essentially just an old, weathered version of the chest that Wilbin has on his possession, and it has lost any sort of power ever since it has been used. I know very, very little. I know so little about this situation that it bothers me immensely. But one thing I can say for sure is you and my previous apprentice are far from the same.
Damn.
Well, that's all I had to ask, at least. I don't know, Kazi, if you have any questions.
Just one. In all of your years of studying Arcana, have you ever come across anything? Carson, was a term that Hermes described? Did he say physical displacement or matter displacement or
Physical
something?
displacement, yeah.
Physical displacement. Have you ever come across any cases of physical displacement through magical means?
Physical. Where did you hear that term?
I'm not sure.
It was an old friend.
Well, your old friend must have been quite well read. Physical displacement is a theory devised by the scholars at the the Tevrahelian Spire is the belief that when power is wielded recklessly and or without knowledge of its own intention, that magic can have its own sort of magic itself can become confused about where things belong, especially with the concept of a foreign entity. I suppose that is what you three would be considered, but I don't think you have to worry about experiencing that. If the theory is even more than a theory, surely, surely no mortal could survive such an experience without at least some major detrimental symptoms for a lifelong of probably torment and mental anguish. So I don't think you need to worry about that happening to you.
With your knowledge, by any chance, do any of these symptoms involve maybe entering the mind, bodies of another?
I don't know anything about that. Is there someone whose mind you'd like to enter?
No. No.
I assure you there are simpler ways to achieve such an effect.
I just kind of wide-eyed look at Varys for like a couple seconds and just look back at Gavin. Out of just concern.
That should be everything.
Wonderful. Well, what are you still doing standing here? Get out into the city. Make yourselves useful.
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Can I stay to ask Gavin a few one-on-one questions?
We have a lot to worry about.
Certainly.
He said physical torment.
Does Wilbin see me come up?
Oh, come on.
Wilbin probably doesn't see you, but Guyvin notices you.
Does Gavin react to me being here?
Yes, he turns and looks at you.
I just wanted to ask you a question about artifact that I found. If you could just give me a little bit more information. It won't take more than a minute or two.
Yeah, certainly. Step right up.
And I pull out this thing.
Wilbin, you notice that Guyvin goes to retrieve his spectacles from his pocket again, but he's already wearing them. And he adjusts how they sit on his nose. Yes, let me take a look here. And he reaches out for it.
I hand it to him.
Yes. Am I correct in assuming that you recovered this from the pyromancer's constructs?
That would be correct.
A sharp eye you have. Yes, this is clearly the heart of a construct. Perhaps you've heard of a homunculus.
I've seen one before, yes.
Yes. A homunculus and a construct are the same in principle. Something must be used to hold together an artificial creature. And while a homunculus is created by a powerful spellcaster from any matter of could be gelatin, it could be the very bone of the chicken you dined on last night, it could be your own mucus. A homunculus is a strange sort of construct, but the constructs we saw last night were merely made of fire that was held together by this heart. It is it radiates with the power of that pyromancer. Uh, I sort of wish it didn't. The magic left inside this heart gives us a clue that the pyromancer who attacked the port is still alive out there. If he were dead, the magic would have dissipated. But perhaps this could still be salvaged to create a magical construct of your own. That would be quite a feat for someone of your relative naivete to the world of the arcane.
And how might one go about doing that?
Uh, the process is it would require a proficiency with not only transformation but also with control over the forms of whatever sort of construct you'd like to create. The process is relatively simple once explained, but I fear it would take a whole nother class to delve deeper into that subject. But should you be interested, I would be happy to plan, or perhaps my new apprentice might be able to plan a lecture around that concept. Um, I think you could learn quite a lot from this young man right here. And he gestures to Wilbur.
I think
would love to.
Tyrael looks over and raises an eyebrow and looks back at Guyvan. Does it have any material value of any sort? Would someone be interested in buying it, or?
Here in the Harborlands, almost everything has a price, but to anyone with an arcane eye, you could perhaps convince them its magical potential, but you could certainly get some gold for it just by the fact that it is quite shiny. I'm sure a lovely lady of the court would love to wear it around her neck, as dangerous as that might be.
Well, thank you. As I reach
He
out
hands
my
it back.
hand. Okay. Put it back in my pocket.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that is it.
What is it you'd like to talk with me about, Wilbur?
Does he like watch me as I go
Oh
farther
my
back?
god, Alex.
He does.
Okay.
Okay, Ivan, I believe it to be dangerous to tell the others of what us three told you in the jail cell. Of our circumstance.
By the others, you mean the Dragonborn, the elf, and the tiny frog?
That would be correct.
I see. Why do you feel that it is reckless to explain your situation to them?
I think it's risky. You don't want to associate the college with this sort of stuff, and Tyrael has already pulled a bow on me. So I feel going in any further might pose a risk.
Why did she pull a bow on you?
I think she has she's not trustful.
Then it is your duty, as not only her peer, but as she is potentially your acolyte, it is your duty to build trust with her and with the others, and not see risk in adversarial relationship with these people. They are, in fact, your only friends in this city.
Do you see magic coming back to me quite fast?
He gives you a look over, and you see he has the same sort of like focused expression for a moment as he did when he was examining the egg in the cell. Your magical prowess has never left you, Wilburn. You just did not know how to control it. I trust you were paying attention.
Of course.
Then I think you'll find yourself quite satisfied with your ability from this moment on.
Thank you. Do you have any advice on where I should go out into town?
Speak with Carlotta. She is an herbalist in the city. It won't be hard to find her if you ask around. I have it on good authority that she's having a bit of a rough go at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wilburn,
Yes,
be safe.
of course.
I have left.
Boris and Wilburn have left.
Do the same.
Ivan lifts a single sheet of parchment from the desk. But he examines it for a moment, but then he looks past it at the door as it swings shut. And he spins in his chair and he looks out the window at the city. There's something that just doesn't sit quite right with him. So he folds up the scroll and he goes marching for the door. And that's where we'll conclude this session of Muscles and Magics.